All right, I'm probably gonna cut this up, but we're gonna take a look at modifying. I mean, you could do this with pretty much any NECA figure. Ghost Face is a perfect example because he's wearing a robe. So if you want to get more articulation, you could kind of just shave some of the edges down. That is a huge help. Right now we're going to take a look at Myers. I'll explain this look in a second, but I might break this into two videos and I'll talk about blood application in a separate video just so I'm not rushing to get everything crammed into this one video because we could talk about Pennywise and others. Anyhow, so the modification specifically, maybe I'll explain this so if you're curious. One of the ideas, because Myers comes with so many different heads, and I was under the assumption I bought the right upgraded head. I'm doing a video on this as well because it was white, so I thought this was the new reissue for 2018 NECA Myers, but it wasn't. This one is. And in my video, I explained the way how you can tell, but this one's actually bigger, so when you put it on the body, it's the best NECA Myers out there. So anyway, so I have the original body and then two heads. Then I have the one I thought was the new reissue, the body, and then two heads. So that's two bodies and four heads. And then I got this, the real NECA reissue, the official one, because what they did is they put out a 2018, then they did a repaint white, and then they did an actual new sculpted hair. So now I got three bodies and six heads. So the idea was to take inspiration from the Walking Dead zombie, the tree walker that's kind of so old and rotten and molded and moss growing on it that it's kind of stuck in the tree. So this is going to eventually be, or at least the idea is, a diorama where it's a mini diorama here, where a little base with some greenery and maybe a root and then a tree, kind of like a swampy tree. And then Myers here will be in a more of a gray suit, kind of really dirty, really mossy, and that's pretty much it. I love the post-apocalyptic zombie genre especially. So this is my like post-apocalyptic zombie Michael Myers. Eventually, this is just a prototype. Sometimes I play around with some prototypes when I don't know, have a half an hour to kill, and it's kind of like my little hobby in between doing different things. You know, if I did it well, and then somebody was like, "Oh, okay," and they paid me to make them one, so it's a little practice gig. Now let's move on to actually doing the modifications here. So you get the original body. This is one I started touching up, but then I realized I needed one as an example. So when you get it, he's double jointed, so he bends pretty good the way it is. Now I already started touching this up, so I should have just left it. But you can tell in this arm, especially when you go to bend the arm, even though he's double jointed, there's a limited amount of range. Now what you can do is you can pop the arms off, you can leave them on. I'm going to be popping the arms off to recolor this one anyway, so they're off. But what you want to do is, I'll leave that arm on the ground, and take your X-Acto knife, be really careful, but you go up in here and start out very slowly because you don't need to take a lot out. What you want to do is just trim down the edges. Because what's happening when the movements happen between the plastic, you're getting this like edge of the mold is what's hitting and making that stop. I'll put my finger in the way. So that edge is hitting this part and it's making a stop. Then this edge is hitting that edge, obviously, and it's making a stop. Well, just because of how the plastics are, some of the thicker plastics, if you can shave down. Now, this was a more ugly one because this was going to be the guy drenched in blood. So what I did is I just, took a couple chunks out. But if you go in there and shave it down, you can do it without even noticing it. You probably might not even notice it as much, to be honest. See, if you look at these two arms, you can see this one, I went in there and shaved it out, and it's really noticeable because of the underside here. It's more exposed. the middle joint. But here you can see it's intact. So I didn't cut it out yet. Now what that does is it gives you a very flexible or a very articulated Myers bend. So now you can have them posed with a knife that's closer up. It just adds in that extra bit of articulation. So that's as far as it naturally bends. But when you get that little bit of arm carved out, he's going to bend even more. Now you will have to deal with hanging sculpt the way Neca does. It appears is they try to sculpt it and create it so the arm will be as flush as it can be all the way around. So it's never going to be perfect. Obviously it's a figure with articulation, but that's what they're attempting to do. So you can trim out those parts. Even in the neck, you can trim it out to get really good articulation there. This guy is really stiff because he's not trimmed out yet. But this guy has a lot of articulation because you could do the same thing here. You just go around the edges. You can make these nicks. And what that does is it gives this barbell extra movement because it goes down in the ditch of the neck that you carved out. That's a simple technique to do on McFarlane figures because he's real stubborn with articulation. He gives it to you, but just barely. So you can go into the ball joint and the double dumbbell joint and do like one ditch here, one here, one here, and one here. And what that does is it'll give you up movement to look up, down movement to look down, especially on your Batman figures with McFarlane. And then you have attitude side to side. And because of that dip, see how much more articulation you can get now? Just because you put a little dip in there. I can see eventually more, high grade figures, the more these adult collectibles, I don't know, some company will come along and that'll become the new standard for an adult collectible. I guarantee it. Having those ditches or rivets or whatever you want to call them inside to get that extra articulation. Because all you would need to do is you mold it the same. All you would need to do is instead of having a plain hole there, you would have a hole there with 4 little grooves, back, front, side to side. Anyhow, so we'll pop a head on him. Doesn't even matter. Let's just get one of these heads. And if you want to really, there's a couple things to go over for the end of the modification. If you want to, where's that hole? If you want to really get Myers modified, the body is very articulated, but the shell is thick and you can't move it barely at all. I know what I did as a test, I even went in there with an X-Acto knife and I carved it out. So this rubber piece, the rubber overlay, is actually a lot thinner because of me going in there and carving it out. So you can actually get some articulation, some bends up and back. But I'll show you what it looks like when you pop his arms off and you slide this. This is the thick, see it's actually pretty thick. This is the thick overlay. You can slide this off, and the best way to do it is put a little cut there. It's already on the figure. If you open the figure, there's already a line. That's the cut that it's all one piece from Neca, and then they glue it down here. So you follow them. You put a little slit with an X-Acto knife. There's only a tiny bit of glue here. You peel it back, and then you warm it up with a hairdryer, and then you can slide it right off. Once you do that, you can see how they have it set up. This is the exact same as the Jason Part 5, the Roy Jason as well. So you can kind of modify the Jason and turn him into a Michael Myers. But here's one of my favorite aspects of the modification. The torso bit with the arms. Because one thing you'll notice with Michael Myers is he is lanky, and his arms are like really close to his body at certain times. It gives him like this really unique, just, I don't know, that shape look. But with the figure, obviously because it's, it's plastic, he has these just how it's put together and made, these stops. So it stops his arm from going any closer. So it does give him kind of more of a bulked out look where the arm will not go any closer. And it just, I don't know, it doesn't keep that, I don't even know what to call it, but it doesn't have that subtle difference having the arms right by his side that you'll see sometimes with Michael Myers. But what you can do is, and I did this heavily, I went in here, especially on this guy, I went in here and I scraped out the top, and that's to give some extra movement around to the top. Like this guy, if he lifts his arm some, but this version, he can lift his arm. There's nothing hindering it there, even going in any direction you want to go. But if you want to get down here, do it very lightly and just shave away, because what you'll notice is it'll be this hole, and there's this piece that's just jetting out right here, here and here. So it'll come out and it'll be like that much extra plastic, and then it'll cut into the arm. So it's poking out like this. And what that's doing is when you go to fold the arm in, it's catching on the tip right here. So what I did is I shaved that off. And then once you do, you can get more of a Myers. Instead of having his arms kind of looking like he's ready to brawl, you can put them a little bit closer to his body. And again, it's a subtle, very subtle change. But it's something that I like a lot more with my Myers. And I noticed with the kills, he sits for some reason a little better, but I looked at him and he looks very similar. It's a lot of the same base work, so I'm not really sure what they did different. Maybe his body is a little bit smaller. I haven't taken his torso off yet, but something just, I don't know, there's a look there. But then when you modify it, he has this... and again, this one is middle. I only shaved down a little bit. This one I shaved down a lot. So this guy's his arms are gonna rest like right alongside his body if you wanted to. So when he's standing there on display, his arms are really close instead of, I don't know. It's still cool. Neca did a great job, but just having a more natural arms at the side, I think that suits him really well, especially the shape. Anyhow, with the Neca Halloween Kills, he does have a bit of a stop, but it's nowhere near. See, it's not as good as the modified, but it just doesn't feel as stiff as the 2018. I'm trying to see if there's a different way I can move his arms. Yeah, this one isn't too bad. But something here, however this is, it just stops his arm from coming down. But the Kills is definitely one of the best that Neca has done for Myers. I will also mention before we shut this down, the re-sculpt. Again, I have a video showing how to find the re-sculpt in the store, but the resculpt, actually, there's something about this face I was looking at, and I don't know how much you want to risk it. But it has I don't want this to sound stupid, because this is supposed to be the original mask, but aged 40 years. You know what I'm saying? But the original 2018 release didn't look... It looks like the movie, and this is why it's weird, but it didn't look like the 2018 mask. I'm sorry, the 1978 mask, aged 40 years. I mean, it kind of did, but it didn't have the shape still. But the reissue has this look where if you smoothed out if you take the age away, the wrinkles and whatnot, the cracks and all that, it would be very close to the original, to the 1978. That's how I see it. I looked at it close and I thought, man, they did such a good job. You might be able to smooth this out. And that's definitely on my list to do. Because having a 1978 Myers is like, that would be awesome at this point. Because Neca isn't making them. The license is shot. Or else they'd be on the market. The original 2018 heads looked good, but like I said, clean this head up. I still don't see the 1978 mask in there. Not the 1978, maybe Halloween 2, where it's a little rounder, you know what I'm saying? But this one just has that point to it that the other one doesn't. I don't know if I'm crazy or if you guys can see it. It still looks like the movie, and that's what I love about these very affordable, cheaper collectible figures, because it looks just like the movie, especially the face there. But if you clean this up, you can turn this into a 78. Yeah, I could see it for sure. It'll take some work, and that's what I don't know. I don't know if it will take adding and taking away, or just taking away. I'd be a little nervous with just taking away, though. I'm not sure. But I definitely think there's hope there. Anyway, so that's what I recommend as far as modifications for Mikey. Let's pop this head on, just because I friggin' love the idea. I wish I had more time. I'm not going to be able to work on this for a while yet. I'll probably have to stop and come back to it. I just had an idea. Now I was tinkering around with the head, and once I get an idea, sometimes I play around with it. But I really like the idea of a post-apocalyptic, full body, little tree, little Dio, Michael Myers. And again, having his arms sit close to his side, yeah, definitely a modification I'm doing with all my Myers. But, all right, you guys can leave thoughts and opinions down below and let me know. And again, just to reiterate, you can do this with most NECA figures. I did the cutout here to give you an idea. This will be a clear example. You make those divots so that way there's a lot more articulation. You can get a lot more attitude because the barbell, I did that too much though. You only need to do it a little, because once you do it a little on the inside, it clears the barbell. As long as it clears it, that's all you need to do. I was fast, didn't have a lot of time, and I just chopped this up because I know on this body, the head I put on is going to be the one head, because I think right now if you pop a head on there, this will just pop right out easy because I took too much out. So keep an eye out for that. Let me know what you guys accomplished down below. And also, DoomsdayKingdom.com, my comic, the issue 5 and 6 are up for pre-order. We also have a few copies of issue 1, volume 1, which contains issues 1 to 5. So check that out. Leave some thoughts and opinions down below. Oh, I fucked up his... I don't know why I did that. I put a little blood splatter on his leg, so that way when he's standing, he has like a puddle of blood. I don't even know why I did that. I was testing something out. But we'll go over the blood next.